I want to talk a little bit today, very briefly, about Criminal Cases Review Commission, but also the rights of prisoners who are on parole to speak to the media. A Criminal Cases Review Commission is ideally suited for this type of case, and any case in which there is, on the part of those who advocate for the individual, compelling evidence and fresh and new evidence that needs to be examined. In Scotland, in the UK, and increasingly in common law countries, we are establishing these commissions. We're establishing these commissions for a good purpose, for a good reason. One is they have the expertise to sift through the material, and two, they provide an independent place where people can take the matters that they seek to have dealt with and examined. There's no point taking it to the police because they've got too much invested in it. So a Criminal Case Review Commission is essential and should be part of the fabric of the rule of law and democracy in any state in Australia, and we should have one here in Tasmania. That does not mean that a Criminal Case Review Commission finds in every case that a conviction is unsafe. If you look at the data from the UK and from Scotland, in most cases, there's simply, the Commission looks at it and simply says there's nothing here to be able to pursue. But that doesn't mean, as we know, that all is rosy. What we do know is that there are some cases which do demand that second look, and we know particularly in the United States where you see every year people who've been jailed for long periods of time exonerated but have lost much of their lives. Now that's because in the United States we have well-funded innocence projects which have a similar role, although slightly different. We should have an innocence project in Tasmania. There are universities around Australia that are doing great work with their innocence projects with students, Griffith University being one of them. Why don't we have one in Tasmania? The second point I want to make very briefly is that any prisoner who is on parole and is pursuing a claim of injustice, and I mean real injustice, that is that they have an arguable case to be able to put before the community and they are agitating to have their conviction overturned, should be able to speak to the media. We treat parolees as though they are still in prison. Far too often, parolees, in my view, are breached for very minor matters, but keeping them away from the media, if they've got something important to say, whether it's about their conditions of imprisonment or whether it's about the fact that they believe they are wrongfully convicted, is a matter and a right that they should have. That doesn't mean, of course, that it's open slather for prisoners then to spread far and wide falsehoods about the victims of crime or about their own case. And that, of course, is a matter for the media and others to ensure that that doesn't take place. But permission ought to be given by the parole authorities, community corrections. If permission is sought, it can be done so on the basis that what the person is saying is a matter of legitimate public interest. That should happen, and it should happen now. People like Sue Neill-Fraser and others who believe that they were wrongfully convicted and who've got support in the community and who've got people arguing their case ought to be able to speak to the media. Thank you.